I need to talk to you about the theory of constraints. The theory of constraints is this mind-blowing idea where, you know, the things that you see as restrictive are actually the things that make you productive and innovative. Right? It's from this book I've been reading called Inside the Box. I first saw Cal Newport interview the author, and they actually did a really good job just in that talk about explaining this idea. That and bottlenecks, but it's a different thing. Yeah, author's name, Dave Epstein. Bit of a sucks to have that name in these days, isn't it? But anyway, so David Epstein in this book just goes through like example after example of examples of where having constraints makes produces way more creativity, way more productivity, everything. That it starts with this contrast between a company called General Magic and Pixar. So General Magic was the unconstrained version, and they came up with the concept of the iPhone and everything else really early on. They were kind of, looking into the future almost, right? Described it exactly. And they had all of these, they had huge investment, right? Money was no constraint for them. And they also gave themselves tons of time. They kind of bought into this idea that freedom equals creativity equals, like it was like the Mouse Utopia experiment, but for engineers. They had all the freedom in the world to think big things and come up with whatever they wanted. And, deadlines and managers weren't really a thing. They were just, creative free flow. And basically, they just got ridiculously, mired in all these ludicrous features and, complexities and everything. There's this idea the book puts forward of, this is from the Pixar side of things. Think slow and act fast. So, is that right? Is it the other way around? I think it was that way around. So basically, when things are when things can be changed quite a lot, like when you're still thinking things through, when you haven't actually acted yet, it's not that costly to change tack. Whereas when you've tested the idea and everything, and you're really going to commit to it, then put all of your resources behind it, and execute. And so, when you're constrained by something, Pixar added constraints. They added constraints to their team to kind of, get some of that, get some of just this magic of constraints that General Magic completely, almost ideologically rejected. And so, yeah, there wasn't the same freedom, but there was, high expectations and things they had to do and deadlines they had to meet. And, ideas were put through ringers and, crafted and, tested and all this stuff. Anyway, so just say that as encouragement, really. If you're constrained by stuff, you don't have the resources at the time, or in my case, the team I'm working with at the moment is remote and part-time and have a lot of issues. And, what it's forcing me to do is be really creative and really, they say necessity is the mother of creation. I guess that's alluding to this a little bit, but really, really constraints are, because here's the thing, if you don't have any constraints, then you're going to pick the path of least resistance. It's like this really clicked it for me, is if you have no restrictions and no constraints and you just can do whatever you want, then your mind naturally falls into the easiest thing to do, right? So you can't just wish that away. Like, if you could do whatever, then you will end up falling into the easiest path, which will be the path of no innovation, nothing new. You'll do whatever's been done before. But when you have restrictions, when you don't have freedom to do whatever you want, you have to figure out a new way. So it just makes perfect sense.